Hey, it's Clay. Welcome to another video. This is going to be a ukulele build. This is a kit that I got off Amazon by a company called Zemo. They sell this DIY ukulele kit. The reason I got it is I've got a 5-year-old daughter who's shown some interest in playing guitar. I play guitar, but all of my guitars are full-size electrics and acoustics, and they're simply too big for her. And so this is going to be a fun way for us to kind of connect on that, share and hopefully have a shared interest here. And I wanted to do a little bit of a demo review on how I built this thing, if you're looking to build one yourself. I have built some guitars and some amps before, and so I have a little bit of experience doing something like this, but I think that a build like this is pretty accessible for just about anybody, even with pretty minimal DIY skills, so hopefully we can show that. Let's go ahead and talk about what you get with the kit. First up, you get this body. Now this is a pre-fabricated body. To me, the wood feels a little bit rough and a little bit soft. You know, if you kind of look at it in here, I don't know how you guys are going to be able to see this, but kind of you can see the bit of the wood grain here on the top, and it's right in here. It's very thin, and it almost kind of has like a wafery quality to it. It has a very soft feel, and I mean, that's, for this kind of a price point, I think that's to be expected. This was like 30 bucks. But you know, just to confirm, this is probably not the most rigid of hardwoods out there. But like I said, this is going to be a guitar for my daughter, but I still thought I'd mention it. One of the things I do want to say though is it probably could use a little bit of sanding. Now, I'm actually going to paint this, and so I'm probably not going to spend a lot of time doing that, but if you wanted a good final product, especially if you were going to leave it natural, I would definitely recommend doing a little bit of sanding. But I'm going to go ahead and paint it because my daughter wanted it to be a pretty color. So I'm probably just going to do a very light amount of touch-up painting. Looking on the inside, you can see there, I don't know if it'll come through or not with the lighting, but there is some bracing going on. I see two braces on the bottom. So one's like right along here, and another one's down here. I also see right here in the back, there is like a block in here and a similar one here on the front. So that's going to do the majority of the leg work as far as bracing. And then on the top, I feel right in about here there's a brace, and right in about here there's a brace. So not you know, the most extravagant or elaborate of bracing schemes to produce the most resonant acoustic guitar, but I do think that this will work nicely. So that's the body. Mine has a pretty nice looking figure to it. It looks like a more pale colored wood. If I had to guess, I would say this is some kind of Chinese softwood that is very inexpensive. You know, like if you go to the local big box store, you can get something called whitewood. I don't even know what exactly that is, but I'm guessing that's what it is. So anyways, this is the neck that comes, and it's shaped already, and actually it feels pretty good. It could use maybe a little bit of light sanding, but there is a glue joint right here, so this part has been added on, and it's a different type of wood altogether, it looks like to me. And then I think there's a little veneer right here that has been added on. To me, this looks maybe like a maple veneer. It's got a little bit of flaming actually, which is pretty cool. And then this just looks kind of like a little bit of a darker wood. This feels a little bit more like a hardwood to me, but not exactly sure. Comes up with some of these holes, which I think would be, I guess maybe we can use those to assemble the fretboard. A couple of pins right here for how the neck is going to join in with the body. Oh, and it looks like there is another glue joint right here where this piece has been glued on. So it's definitely not one solid piece of wood for the neck, but that's fine and probably par for the course. And actually the neck feels pretty good to me. Here is our fretboard. This is a piece of wood that actually looks pretty good. It's got a dark color. One thing I notice is it does have a little bit of a bow to it, which you can kind of see there how it's curved. but that should be fine. It's a thin enough piece of wood that we should be able to, yeah, it flexes, so that should be okay. We have to glue it with some clamps, but it actually looks pretty good. These little fret ends feel a little sharp and pokey to me, so they definitely are going to want to be sanded down, because when you're playing, your hand will be here, and you can definitely feel it scratching against my fingers in a very uncomfortable way. So not something that I am surprised to see. These frets feel, typically they're made of nickel. They look pretty standard for me. A little smaller than guitar frets that I would typically see, but overall not such a problem. Next we've got our bridge. Now I believe it's going to go on like this. So you've actually got holes here, and I believe the strings go in the hole this way, they loop around, they tie in a knot, and then they shoot out this way towards the neck. And then, let's see, this is my bridge tailpiece, which is going to go in this slot right here. It actually has a nice tight fit. This looks to be some kind of plastic material, which is, you know, you'd prefer like a nice bone nut, but this is going to be fine. And this piece of hardwood looks pretty good, so that's nice. We've got some tuning keys here. These look to be fairly basic, but they travel fine. They seem to be okay. Workmanship isn't going to be crazy high or expensive. There's a little bit of finishing kind of flaking off of this plastic pearloid looking end cap, but got the exposed gears, which is fine. Maybe not the most durable or robust thing over the years, but not such a big deal. Got some other little bits here, like some plastic ferrules that'll go into these, those little slots. I got some screws. Guess I'm not even sure what. I'm pretty sure the bridge will screw in, but I don't know, does the fretboard screw in or does it glue in? Probably whatever I want. And then we have these little, I'm guessing these are strings. They look like floss almost. I'm not real familiar with ukuleles. So anyways, that's what you get with the kit. Overall, I'm not terribly surprised, but for 30 bucks, it's kind of an open palette and it'll be a fun little project. So let's talk a little bit about my plan of action for building. What I'm probably going to try to tackle first is gluing the neck to the body. Now, typically you would want kind of a nice strong glue joint here, as the neck holds a lot of the tension of the strings, but because these strings are so light, they're not going to be pulling with tremendous amount of pressure. I'm still probably going to use wood glue, but I'm not going to really rack myself over making the best glue joint ever. Looks like I've got these little dowels, which will go in here like that, and then in here like that. So yeah, I'm going to glue it up first, then we'll move on to finishing. I'm going to finish this with some spray paint, and then we're going to assemble the rest of it. So let's go ahead and cue the montage. And the last thing I almost forgot to mention is this actually does come with some instructions. So it's fairly basic how it lays out and names all the parts and give you some photographs, and then it gives you a little bit of a step-by-step, which is kind of nice. But I think I'm probably going to kind of wing it and just see how it goes. There is a link to a video here on their Facebook page, which I have not seen, so I'm just going to kind of wing it, and if I get stuck, I'll maybe refer back to the instructions. So here we go.
Like your clamp.
Nice. Flip it upside down, Lucy.
It is right side.
Oh, good. Good job. Keep going.
I just folded it so you can't see it. I hold it mine so I can use it whichever way.
Okay, now we need to do this. We gotta, hold on.
That's just a guitar.
We gotta crumple this up.
Crumble it. Why?
To put it in there so spray doesn't get in there.
That's right.
You're gonna have to wear gloves.
There we go.
Need more.
Perfect. Hey, guys. Come in. Jimmy, short on him. Alright guys, so for finishing, I've just been using these 3 different colors. I've got a teal, a purple, and a pink. And to kind of get this tie-dye effect, I started off by doing some layers of base, just with the purple. And once I built up my base, then I would start, you know, the basic idea is if you can control the amount of color by how close you are and how quickly you go by. So if you want to get a nice even strong coat, you want to maybe a foot away and you want to go by at maybe a moderate speed. But if you pull it back and if you go faster, then you get more of this faint kind of airbrush type look where it kind of is a little bit more, I don't know, faint is maybe the right word. And so that was the tie-dye look that my daughter wanted and was looking for, so that's what we did. I have been hitting it with a little bit of like a Scotch-Brite pad just to knock off, it gets a little bit kind of orange peely, just to knock off some of that. And I've been using some steel wool as well. And then when we get to the point that we're happy with that, we're going to use some clear coat on top to finish it off. So now I need to figure out where to place the bridge. This white part is the bridge saddle. That's where the strings contact at one point, and then this is the nut. This is where the strings contact at the other point. And determining the distance between those two is somewhat important. So, I've got my tape measure, and I'm measuring from the very end of the fretboard. This is where the strings will be contacting on the nut, to this 12th fret. That's this one here with the double dots. Now the 12th fret should be the octave, meaning from here to here it's one octave, and then from here to here that should be double the distance. So if I measure this, I see I've got 7 1/4. So that means I should go 14. Sorry, that's 7 1/8. So I should go 14 1/4. Alright, I'm ready to restring. I laid out my 4 strings here from thickest to thinnest. Now my understanding is that the thinnest one goes on the top, and then it goes thick, second thickest, third thickest. This it's a little bit out of order compared to like a guitar that I'm used to, but we're gonna give it a shot. Alright, I did my first string as a test, just to see how I do it, and we're going to go on from here. So now I've got my second string. First I'm going to put a little bit of it through the tail of the headstock here, just a little bit, not too much. Through the tail, the hole in the tuning peg. Slot it through the nut, and then I come down here and I'm going to push it so it goes through the little hole in the bridge. I want some inches, maybe 4 inches, about like that. So then I come and I make a loop, like I'm tying a knot. I go through the loop, pull it tight, and then I go through it again. Pull it a little tighter. And then with this other hand, with both hands, I'm pulling it tight. Okay, then I go up to the top here and I pull this so that it would be somewhat tense. Now at this point it's very, very slack, so I maybe even give it just a tiny bit more slack. Then I'm just going to start winding the tuning peg. Now for the first revolution, this part here, the loose part, I want it to go underneath. So now that I've gone underneath, I pull it up. And now I kind of am using my pointer finger here to push down. So now the wind is going to go over top. And it's going to create a little bit of a pinch on the string, which you want. So you can see right here, I've got one wind on this side and one wind on this side. And I'm making noise, but I'm going to keep going with the rest of the strings before I do anything more. Alright, so I was stringing it up and I started to notice that it was acting a little bit funky. When I would string up the note, I would be constantly plucking it as I was cranking the tuner to go tighter and tighter, and you expect the pitch to gently go, as you're doing it, you hear the pitch and it should go, it should go higher and higher as you turn the tuning peg knob. And I would notice that it would not get higher, and I would be needing to turn it pretty excessively. And what I discovered is I was being kind of an idiot, and the bridge was lifting up. It was coming up this way, and that was all. It was my fault. It was my mistake. I did not glue the bridge on before I painted the body, which was probably an error in hindsight. So that was kind of a dumb move. I should have probably glued the bridge on before I painted it, because then you get good wood-to-wood contact and you got plenty of time to glue it up. So anyway, since then I have tried gluing it, and it seems to be okay, but it just causes me to be a little nervous. So I'm gonna do a little bit of an odd or somewhat extreme measure. So what I've decided to do is I've cut out this little block of wood, and I'm gonna put it, it'll be underneath the top, but it'll sit right under the bridge, and I'm gonna add some screws. I'm going to add these screws and drill some holes. I'm going to use the 2 existing ones and add 2 more to really help to give these screws something to bite into. The top is just kind of too papery thin for me. So hopefully this will help give me the extra bite I need. Like I said, I think if I had glued this on directly to the body before I painted the top, I would be just fine. But alas, I'm a little bit of an idiot, so got to fix my mistake. Well, it's not a very pretty solution, but hopefully it'll be effective. I ended up putting 5 screws in. This wood is just very thin, and it's definitely prone to like cracking. Got a little bit of problem here on these edges, but these 3 screws in here seem to be pretty solid. I might just take these 2 out. So my own dumb mistake, but it is what it is. I made my bed, I gotta lay in it, but as long as I can get something functional, I'm okay. It just does look a little ugly now that I kind of screwed it up. But next thing I'm gonna do is deal with this bridge saddle here. It's too tall, so I'm gonna shave it down using a belt sander. Alright guys, I think I'm finally gotten this ukulele to the point where it's playable. I'm going to call it done for now. I did end up actually seating the bridge again. I took it off. I'm not actually using any glue. I just got these 3 screws, and I do have a block of wood underneath that they're biting into. And this seems to be working just fine. Again though, this is some user error. I think if you guys would just glue this bridge to the body when you've got a nice clean wood connection, a flat bridge against the flat body, glue that nicely, give it a couple days to dry, I think you'll be fine. But again, gluing the bridge to the painted body is not going to work. So user error on that end, but I've managed to fix it, and I've gotten it to a point where it's working fine. I did manage to get it tuned up now, and it actually makes a little bit of sound. Now, this is my first time stringing up a ukulele, and one of the things I've noticed is it seems like it is taking a lot of whines to get this thing up to pitch. And again, I don't know if it's because the strings are stretching out, but it took me a lot of whines to get this thing to finally stabilize. And I think I've gotten it to a point now where it works. So I'm just going to do a little sound demo. I've looked up ukulele chords. I know 3 of them. So I'm very much a beginner, but we've got some that work, so here we go. So yeah, it plays pretty well. The action is a little tall, meaning the strings are kind of coming away from the frets in a high manner. There's no truss rod inside the neck to adjust the bow, But I did manage to shave down this bridge saddle a little bit, and I may choose to do that some more just to get it even a little bit lower, because yeah, it's just there's a pretty good amount of space there, and that makes it a little bit harder to play. But overall, I'm pretty happy with where we're at. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. A $30 ukulele. Finally, I've got something that plays, and I think my daughter will really enjoy it. So hope you guys enjoyed this. I'll see you again soon. Thanks. Bye.